Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Blocks. I'm Coach Lonnie D here with Coach Will Humphries and Coach Anthony Lewis. And today we have another great conversation with Coach Darrell Smith, sprints and hurdles coach at Cal Poly Pomona. Coach Smith brings a lot of experience to the sport, from his own journey in track and field to developing athletes at the collegiate level. Today, we're going to talk about his path to coaching, how the sport has changed over the years, developing athletes, recruiting, Division II opportunities, the transfer portal, NIL, trackflation, and the current state of track and field. This conversation is definitely for athletes, parents, and coaches because recruiting changes every year, and finding the right fit is more important than ever. So, beyond the blocks, we'd like to welcome Coach Smith. And, Coach, we appreciate you joining Beyond the Blocks.
Man, I appreciate you guys having me. We get a little clap track or anything like that. No, I'm just
We do need some
no,
horns
nice
or
to be
something,
with you
you know?
guys. Right?
That'd be dope. So, Coach, before we talk training, recruiting, let's talk about your story. What was your journey like? What was the path that led you to becoming a coach and being the coach you are today?
Great question. Let me see if I can make this sound exciting. So I've been in track since I was 7. I tend to tell people I've been in track my whole life because I had a track house. Uh, I grew up. Uh, my uncle ran, obviously, and my Uncle John ran, was a world record holder in the 440 yards. For you kids, that's what we used to run back in the day, was yards. I'm that age now. I'm at the big age, as the kids say. We ran yards on dirt. But so his pictures and some of his trophies were all over the house. So it was always around, right? Um, when I was little, I was that kid. I was the fast kid. I was the only person that could beat me in my whole neighborhood. Uh, was a girl. In the 6th grade, we had a little race that was however long it was, maybe a 50 across the schoolyard. And we lined it up, all the 6th graders, and I won the boys race. And once again, the only person who could beat me was a girl. Glad I didn't have to race her. But I just been in track, and track always made sense to me. And like most people, I think that got into the sport, I thought I'd be going places. I thought at age 18 in 1988, I'd be at the Olympic Games, and I was going to be the one to break Edwin Moses's winning streak. That's what I told myself. And by age 17, my freshman year in college, I realized that was not going to happen. Um, I got to UCLA. I mean, I had a decent high school career, nothing spectacular. The highlight of my high school career was in the 10th grade. I won C Division city title in the 300 hurdles. Couldn't tell me nothing for about 48 hours. Uh, and then that turned out to be the highlight of everything. Uh, but I did get a chance to go to UCLA, uh, run on the team for a little while. Life was lifing. And by my junior year, it would have technically been my 4th year, actually. I was assistant manager. And that started my transition into coaching. And then I was head manager in my 5th year, which for me at the time was kind of cool because, of course, it's my team and my friends. And I had the unique opportunity throughout the beginning of my coaching career of coaching my peers.
Mhm.
My uncle brought me on, taught me the ropes, exposed me to the sport at the highest levels. In 87 and 88, UCLA had won the national title in back-to-back years. And that's what I got to walk into. So I'm around that. And then post collegiately, he started his pro group. And so I just walked into that arena, and all of a sudden it's the best of the best of the best. And that occupied the first 20 years of my coaching career, I would say. Spent a chunk of the first 20 being my uncle's assistant, for about 10, 15 years. And then I had my own group for a while. Had great success with HSI. We did it all: world records, Olympic medals, national records. I got to travel the world. I got exposed to coaching along the way through that connection. I got exposed to the Saudi Arabian national team. And I spent a few years in the early knots being this sprint and hurdle coach, one of the sprint and hurdle coach for the national team. Um, at the time, back in 2000, I helped coach Hadi Somaili to the silver medal in the 400 hurdles. Uh, their first ever Olympic medal in the country's history. Following that, we won the world junior title, and at the time set the world junior meet record, 44.66. So 2000 was kind of a good year for me. Then in my own group, a few years later, I had the opportunity to coach a couple of hurdlers. Tasha Danvers in '08 won bronze at the Olympics in the 400 hurdles. And then in 2013, uh, Ryan Wilson won silver medal in the 110 hurdles at Worlds out in Russia. Um, and I've had, success along the way with various other athletes. And then about 2012, I made one of my dreams come true. And I always tell people this unabashedly. There's only one job I ever wanted in life. One. People want to be doctors and lawyers and dentists and, business owners. The only job I ever wanted was to be the coach at UCLA. And I got the opportunity to do that for free, actually. I walked in as a volunteer assistant, offered my assistance as an alumni, and got on staff. And I was on staff from 2012 to 2017 and found myself as a college coach all of a sudden. At the time in the beginning, I had a small pro group and I was doing college thing, worked my way to being paid staff. Um, and then I realized along the way, I really enjoyed coaching college. I had been told by past athletes I'd be a really good college coach. I never actually knew what that meant till I got in it. And then it started to make sense to me. And then from UCLA, I won't dig into the details right now because that'd be a long story, but I ended up at Cal Poly Pomona. And skipping the long and short of it is it's been a great last 9 years. I can't believe it's been 9 seasons, going in year 10, which is incredible to me. I never thought I'd sit here and be like, I've been in college coaching for over 10 years, but here I am. I love it. I love having the young adults, the teenagers growing into young adults and helping ferry them into adulthood, try to give them some nuggets here and there while along the way being successful on the track and learning those lessons on and off the track. Um, and that's my journey in a nutshell to summarize it, to not take up the whole time of the podcast. That's kind of the highlights without digging into every detail. And here we are, few a few, if not all, the school records later, and uh, national qualifiers and all Americans, and here we are sitting on the podcast on Beyond the Blocks and talking to you guys.
Hey, so you said a whole lot. I want to go back a little bit. I was writing some notes down where you were talking. Two things I want to ask you about first is because I don't know if you said it. What high school did you go to? And then also when starting with your uncle's training group, can you tell us some of the pros that were in that group?
For sure. I went to Narbonne. Go Gauchos.
Okay.
Gaucho for life, baby. Gauchos Bruins. So everybody that don't like us, too bad for you. But yeah, I went to Narbonne from 80, I was about to say 85, but it's actually 86 88.
Mhm.
And then you asked me about, when we started.
Yeah.
So yeah, post collegiately, it started, the original name was Nike LA,
hmm
and that meshed into HSI, Hudson Smith
Mhm.
International.
Okay.
The original members were John Drummond, Jason Rouser. I gotta remember that first group: Quincy Watts, uh, Kevin Young. They both were fresh off of Olympic gold and Olympic record and world record. I believe Esther Jones was the first female back in that year. Um, I don't remember if it was the first year or the second year, but Marie Jose Perec came to the group.
hmm
Just to name a few people that came. But the
So that's
first
crazy that you was just gonna skip over that. You can't skip over that, man. You're like, yeah, it was just some pros, nobody. It's a bunch of nobodies.
I got a few friends, Will, that would agree with you that I tend to tell my story kind of scrubbed.
Hmm.
Uh, I have always throughout my life, for whatever reasons, I've been exposed to, stars and celebrities and been in situations that when I look back on them, like you said, hey, that was a highlight. And I know it's a highlight in the moment,
Hmm.
but I'm not a starstruck person.
Hmm.
And because of what we were doing, like I said, I know it now, but I had the blessing of these just being my friends.
Hmm.
Because of the age I was, they were just my friends,
Yeah.
you know. And I look back now, and like you said, sorry for moving. Like you said, you look back now, and yeah, I do scrub over it because I can open my phone and call these people
Hmm.
that have multiple medals and multiple records, and I don't think twice about it because my memories of them are people memories,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
The events of the time were the culmination of a lot of work and a lot of years and all of that. So yeah, I appreciate it. I'm sorry. I apologize. Oh, sorry.
I think a lot of that is also from being from LA. You know what I'm saying? Like being from LA,
Yeah.
a lot of us like you come across relationships and friends and you build friendships with just people and you learn to get to know people and no matter what their status in life is or what their accomplishments are, you end up like, oh, that's such and such, or that's just that's the homie, that's my boy, who whatever it is
It's one of
situation
my
is.
favorite Eddie Murphy quotes. If
What's
anybody
that?
remember Raw and Delirious, he goes, "Oh, they're just regular crackers."
I remember saying that. That was crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's really just like, hey, you've built those relationships and you've got to know those people, and so it's kind of like that's the norm for you.
Yeah, I tell people all the time I was blessed. I've been blessed in this life.
Hmm.
For what you just said, it is very much so the norm. It's the
Hmm.
norm for me to watch and listen to Otto all these years, and I know him as an athlete. I
Hmm.
know him as my friend that when we have practice and go to his house and eat dinner to talk about Coach Watts, as the kids call him now. He's just Quincy, right?
Right.
To talk about Maurice Green and to watch the Olympics and the opening ceremony and see somebody that knows my name, Marie Jose Perec, who's a French legend, right?
Hmm.
She's lighting the torch. And
Hmm.
that was a moment for me. I'm watching my TV screen going, man, I could actually just call her. That's crazy.
Right.
Like I posted
Hmm.
something. She posted a picture. Speaking of that, taking stuff for granted. She posted a picture the other day of her and Christina Wrong, who's
Hmm.
the French record holder in the 100. And Christine, both were in a group for a minute, right? And I just made a comment under it, my girls or something like that. And then Marie responded.
Right.
And yeah, so yeah, sorry, Will. I didn't mean to like skim over it. I appreciate your question.
That's that was funny too because then you mentioned HSI later, so I didn't know if this was the same group or if this was a different. It was just two different like culminations in time and all that. So it's interesting, like now putting that together. So the next question I had is, I thought this was interesting. You said people were telling you for a while, you got several comments that you would make a good college coach. So I
Yes.
was going to say, like, so what did that mean to you, and how you realized later that like that their words were true and all that kind of stuff. So what did that mean to you, and how did you come to that realization? Like, what did you think that meant once you realized it?
Yeah, fantastic. My coaching career has been a natural progression for me. So I didn't go to classes, and study. And I would love to be like, oh, I studied such and such and read his book. I didn't. And not because I was stupid or arrogant. I didn't ever have to. If I had questions, I could ask my uncle. But for the most part, it made sense to me. So fast forward, getting to the college game and having to establish my own voice and ways and philosophies. and finding out that the way my father raised me, right, where my mom and dad raised me, uh, translated those core values that I hold, regardless of what's going around us in the world, regardless of people's, I shouldn't say regardless, when these young people go through their experiences, oh, this is a fantastic part. I can relate and tell them a story. Now, the crazy thing for me is I think and I believe one of the things that makes me a really good college coach is unfortunately, I went through enough in life that there's not too many things that these kids go through that I can't relate to and tell them a story. And the story is actually about me. The story's not about, oh, I had a friend Enos that went through. No, it's actually my story that I can tell them and what I was feeling and what I was thinking and how I handled it, good and bad. Because all my stories aren't, I did this and it turned out great. Most of my stories are, I did this and it was a terrible decision. And I'm telling you, don't do it. I'm warning you, don't do it. And I found that that's been far more rewarding and beneficial and useful to me
Mhm.
as a college coach because there's the off the track part of it that really matters a lot more than people want to get credit for. Now, as a coach, I'm just having this conversation and quote my good friend Danny McCray. He said, I have a good way of talking to athletes. It's not coachy. It's not the technical aspects of this, that, and the other, but it's how I'm able to relate, I guess is a good word.
Mhm.
Relate and translate some things when you're going through things emotionally, mentally, physically, and how I'm able to kind of, hopefully, fingers crossed, make it make sense to them. Uh, and I've also found to the general question of why I think I'm a good college coach. I think I'm kind of built for the dynamics of it, the age group, the transition, the
Mhm.
life things. They're not too old to be set in their ways. They're not too young to where I got to teach them from the ground up. I'm definitely not built for age group. I don't. It's bad. I got to be able to yell and scream sometimes. I tell people all the time, "Can don't mic me up in practice. I get fired."
Mhm.
So, but I think that helps me a lot day to day, the day to day part of it, and helping these kids grow and develop and work through the challenges of what it is to get better.
You just mentioned your friend Danny McCray. How is that watching his and even probably being part of that his recent success of I think he won high school I think high
Coach of the
school coach of
year.
the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how is that?
It's been, I think he doesn't realize it's far more enjoyable for me as his friend, former coach, uh, friend, to watch that happen for him. I enjoy success. I enjoy greatness. I enjoy, obviously from my background, I truly enjoy the what's the word? The human experience of it all. Tate Taylor just ran 1975 and won that race running away. And that's a kid. That was history. And for me, it's the history of it that I love. It's the part of track and field. I tell my kids all the time, what I love about track and field is the start line and the finish line. We can talk, we can pontificate, we can guess, we can plan, and then you go do it. And it ends. And on that day, we have our answer, right? And that's the
Mhm.
part I love about it. So with Danny, what I love for him is, first of all, he's really smart. Hate to tell the world this. Danny's actually really smart. Danny actually is taken to coaching, and I'm happy he took to coaching because he kind of got into it. He didn't get into it to set out to do this. He got
Mhm.
into it to help his son out. And I
Mhm.
told him years ago, bro, you're a great coach. The things make sense to him. When he goes and he calls you and he calls Will, he calls me, he calls Lonnie, and he has these questions, he can use that information. He knows how to make that information make sense. So to
Mhm.
watch him have his success And to have his success universally like he has, that for me is a sign of a good coach.
Mhm.
See, he's not a product of a good athlete. He has developed a program that his kids come to him and they run fast, and they're running historically fast.
Yeah.
I don't have explanations for people. I wish I did because I do it, right? But as his friend, I enjoy it a lot. That's my boy. It was funny last year. Uh, you guys are great question. Can feed into this story. I have a picture on my phone. Last year at NCAA's, Bryce is a senior. Danny's son Bryce is a senior at A&M. We have another mutual friend, Brandon Thomas, who's a Servite coach. His son Max, it was at USC. And then my youngest son, Jaden, was at Arkansas. So Max took second in 100 and 200, and Bryce was All-American in the 400 hurdles and finished off as All-American in Texas A&M. And then Jaden's at Arkansas, and he was the anchor leg of the 4x4. And at the end of the day, A&M and SC tied for the national championship, team championship, and Arkansas finishes third. So now we're all back in the hotel lobby sitting around, and we all took a picture together. There's two of the, I would call them kids, even though I'm not that much older than Danny, but still I known him when he was an athlete. I know Brandon when he was an athlete. And now here we are sitting here talking with our sons at NC's with three All-Americans taking this picture on the top three teams in the nation.
That's
So
amazing.
it's that type of experience that I live for. Those are the things that you guys are all coaches. When you sit around at night, and it's not the why am I doing this, it's the hard times.
Mhm.
You start looking around, you got questions, you start scratching your head like, I don't know the answers. Those are the things I fall back on and I look at and I go, okay, I remember. This is gonna pass. Let me get back about the business of what I do. And let's go solve this problem and get about the business of it and go have fun doing it.
Yeah. See, I like that, the fact that you have those friends and willing to have conversations or learn or get breakthroughs when it comes to athletes. I feel like with track and field, I feel like we're in a tough place where people don't want to share information. People want to gatekeep, and really it's about the athletes and how we can get these athletes better. So let's get on the phone and help each other. Let's build friendship. We, like you said, in between those lines, yeah, our athletes can compete, right? Let the best athlete win, but let's get together and share and learn so that we can make this sport a great sport.
No, you bring up that's a fantastic and a highly underrated point. I tell my athletes, I'll tell any coach, I don't care how much success they had, I don't care how little of a success they had. There's no magic workout. It's 400 meters. You can tell me all day, we ran 5 times 63 meters. Okay, great. You just want it to be different. But there's no magic workout to it, right? There's information, but the most important part, and I also think I think coaches need to talk more because coaches have to realize something in track and field. There's different types of coaching. There's a clinician and there's the artist. Which one are you? And you need to know it because there's a difference.
Can you explain it?
Yeah, I am not a clinician. In other words, we all know those coaches. And this is just a general concept, not boxing anybody in because there's strengths to it all. The clinician is the coach that can tell you to the inch what needs to happen, what system's going to kick in, what phase of training are you in, and they got we're in general prep, we're in this phase, and I'm trying to affect the cellular level, and they use these big giant words, and you're sitting there just going, bruh, was it a 40 or was it a 50? What are you talking about? Oh, well, if you go 50, you're out of acceleration, right? And now they're just trying to sound smart. They're trying to, and then that's the clinician. But I have friends like that. I need them because my brain doesn't work that way. It doesn't. It never did. The reason why I'm a poli sci major is because if you ask me to give in dates and times, I don't know. But if you ask me what I think about it, I got an answer for you, right? I veer more towards the artistry of coaching. What's the artistry of coaching? It's how you use the information. It's how you employ the information. It's it's the variations that come with the different athletes and the different reactions. I coach college, so you show up one day and you got this grand plan, and yesterday was fantastic. Well, today's not. Today's not because Anthony's having a bad day and he don't feel good and he mad because he broke up with his girlfriend and he can't focus. What are you gonna do? Because those are negative emotions, and he done flunked the test today too. These are bad. So what do you do on the given day, right? How do you use the information? Or even more so, what information are you using, right? And how you mesh that together to make it make sense to target exactly what you want to accomplish through your training as an end result. For us, when you come to us as a coaching staff, when you come to my training group, I tell kids to their face from the beginning, excuse me for a minute. I tell them from the beginning, we are here for May. Conference championships is in May. NCAA is in May. Everything other than that, I don't really care about. And not like I don't care. The point is, we are targeting those meets to be our best at that time because it's all that matters. How we do in the biggest meets is all that matters. It's fun to run fast along the way. This is true. But you got to be ready when you got to be ready. So, to your main question about collaboration, I don't know about you guys, but as a coach, I don't care how long I've been doing this job. I don't care how many files I go back and look through. You get stuck. You get stuck. And you can't find the answer. Even though it's probably the same question you had at the same time last year. You cannot find the answer. Or on the lighter side, you have an idea. You actually think you came up with the workout, but it's not really making sense in your head. So yeah, I'm gonna call. And we're gonna talk and we're gonna sit around on this conversation and be like, what do you think about a 350 plus a 300 with 30 seconds rest? And we're gonna bounce it around and the whys and the whats and what are you trying to accomplish and why and when are you doing it? And all those questions, it is healthy to talk about it. It is necessary. I think I think that's one of the hidden secrets of actually trackflation today. It's been more uniform teaching of coaches. It started about 20 years ago, right? Got to get certified. And two, there are coaches that do talk to each other. Hey man, your kid just ran 1975. How, when, what? How did you see that? When did you know that? You may get some bogus answers, but it's the conversation that you got to have. And that's something that Danny and I and a few other friends that I trust, by the way, you can't just be sharing it with everybody. You got to know, right? You got to talk to people that you can actually collaborate with. And that's really helped me with Danny is that we understand exactly what we're talking about. We can bounce ideas off each other. I can call him and ask him what he thinks. But sometimes he might post the workout that he did. And I did it this year. And I called him up and was like, why'd you do that? What were you trying to accomplish? And we had a good conversation. And yeah, I adopted it. I'll tell y'all now, if I see something I like, I stole it. He's doing my drill. I am. Did you think it was a secret? You thought you was going to do something good? I wasn't going to take it? Yeah, I did.
But see, and it's funny that you say that because a lot of us, and the people I hear and I speak to, it sounds like they want to be the first,
right?
To
original,
find out this secret. And that was like the first of what? Like when I think about, I think about history, right? When something has always worked, why change it? So why do you want to be the first of something? And what's the chances of you being the first?
Right. It's none, zero. Right.
Right.
That is track, though. I'll tell you, the arrogance of track is hilarious. Because you do. This summer, I guarantee you, there's a coach that has some success, and they are convinced they are the first people to ever do it, only to find out in 1975, Bud Winters was doing that workout.
I like
Hey, I
that.
was just thinking about something. So you said you said nationals is in conferences in May and nationals is in May. And
Mhm.
my alarm was going off in my head. I know this is going to be the same way for some of our audience because a lot of the people are used to nationals being in June. So we didn't really get into this.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah. So just for our audience, so you're at Cal Poly Pomona, Division II school. Can you talk about that a little bit? We talk about like we talk we've well, by the time this comes out, we've had Division I, II, III, I believe. We've had NAIA by the time this comes out. But can you talk a little bit about the Division II process, how that works, and the differences?
For sure. Yep. Start with the basic. Difference between Division I, Division II. I've coached them both. Um, I get to actually recruit developmental athletes.
Mhm.
Uh, the end result, the the expectations of the end result are actually the same though. Since I've been here the last 9 years at D2, I think sub 10 has won nationals 7 out of the 9 seasons. So you still got to run fast. 44.6 win this year, I think. 44.9 took second in the men's 400 hurdles. I mean 400 hurdles, I wish. In the men's flat 400.
Mhm.
It's a little different calendar. We don't have regionals yet.
Mhm.
I am on a committee that's probably coming soon also.
Okay.
Uh, but we still go by descending order list. Right now it's 22 individuals, 18 multis, and 16 relays that make it to nationals from the TFRS list.
Mhm.
Track and field final results service. I think that's what it is. Um, Something like that. Um, we go by that national list, and that's how you qualify for nationals. So we don't have the regional meet to help you qualify for nationals.
Mhm.
So within that, you still need to run fast during the season. This is true. Um, However, you have until it's 2 weeks before nationals is the deadline to qualify, and everybody knows that date.
Mhm.
So you have a bunch of last chance meets that are around the country also. And people go to and try to make the top 22 as an individual or whatever you're targeting. And that's how we structure our season, from that point of view. And when you're at a D1, I'll go to the top of the top. If you look at most of the SEC schools, since that's where the meat and potatoes are right now, you'll notice they target conference, regionals, nationals.
Mhm.
I know specific programs. I stay amazed, and I know him, and I'm gonna call him, and I will not tell his name right now, but I'm gonna call him because he structures his whole season, and he kind of doesn't run until conference, and it's every
Right.
other
Know what you're talking
weekend.
about.
So he'll go to conference weekend and lay one of his kids will lay it down, and then they got a week off, and they come back at regionals, and then they got a week off, and then they go to nationals, and he
Mhm.
frequently, constantly, habitually is a top five team nationally with
Mhm.
national champs and all Americans. Um, so yes, within that, no, we're not D1. The depth isn't as harsh, right? But the competition, the quality at the top remains the same. It's still competing. If you're
Mhm.
in this sport and you don't like to compete, then you are in the wrong sport. This is not about the clock. This is actually about racing.
Mhm.
It's of benefit when you get a Usain Bolt that sets a world record and wins the gold medal, right? When Donovan Bailey did his, why it's a big deal? Because those are, dynamic moments in time, but you always remember who won.
Mhm.
You always remember who got on the podium. Uh, and that's our goal, and that's what we set out to do. So yes, we're at D2, located in Pomona. We got enrollment at 26,000. We got small classes, so you're never overwhelmed. No,
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the general differences. I mean, we could keep talking about it and dive into it if you want to.
So I want to say, I'm sorry, I want to say, like, you talked about you guys don't have a regional meet, but you might incorporate it. On our show, we've had guests talk about that, how they love the regional meet, and it's a big deal getting athletes qualified for Division 1. And then there's been coaches they're like, you know what, we need to abolish that, get rid of that because that's a waste of time. We don't need those lower level athletes. Let's just, you know,
Right.
let the better people go and whatever, not waste time with this. So what? So you're talking about bringing it. Like, can you give your perspective on that and like the pros and cons, and
For
and,
sure.
and actually bring it to Division 2?
Yep. So that's actually the conversation that we had within our committee
Mm-hmm.
about that, the pros and cons, and going over it. And at the end of the day, it just comes down to this. And I mentioned it a minute ago. It comes down to the competition of it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And college track, like no other, you get this cabal of coaches that love to pretend. They ignore the obvious. Oh, why are we worried about number 48? So I'm gonna tell you a great story about number 48. In 2016, I had an athlete. He had fractured his foot, and he was in a boot all of April, half of March, all of April. He was a freshman. Nobody knew who. Everybody had forgot about him. And I'll tell you his name after I tell the story. So he couldn't run and race. He tried on that foot and he ran 21.6 or something and ran to the training table almost in tears because his foot hurt. And he couldn't run until conference.
Mm-hmm.
He went out of conference. He ran the 4x1, and this is going to be a dead giveaway. And he ran, no, I'm not going to tell the event. And he ran the heat of his event. And the whole time, I'm managing his body because I don't want him to get hurt because he's only been training now for 3 weeks, 1 week in spikes. He qualifies for the finals individual event. He qualifies in the 4x1. 4x4 qualified too, but we weren't worried about that. So we actually skipped the final at conference because he was sore. He ran the 4x1. He told me he was sore and tight, and I said, "We're not about to get hurt. We got regionals coming."
Mm-hmm.
So he skipped his final of his individual event. He had qualified in his individual event though, but he was like 40th, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Go to regionals. He's in lane 8 now. Because why? Because he didn't get the race. So why are we worried about the bottom? Because you don't know how people's seasons go because it's about competing.
Mm-hmm.
At regionals, this is a great dilemma. We had a weather delay that canceled one round of his race. Now, for me, I was happy as hell. It was one less race we got to run, right? So now he's in lane 8, out here all by himself, and he goes out and wins his heat easily. People will run up to me going, "Is that your guy?" I go, "Yeah." They go, "Man, he looked fantastic." I said, "Yeah, he did. Ran a season best by second and a half. Goes to nationals, uh, makes the final at nationals, PRs in both rounds, and he's all American.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's a benefit because it's about the competition. Because you can't just eliminate people's season based upon the circumstances of their season. Who is this young man? This young man was Rye Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
He went on to take 5th at nationals in 400 hurdles his freshman year. He comes back his sophomore year. He takes silver, and then everybody else knows the rest of his history, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just never know what's going on out there, especially in the collegiate realm. You in Division 2 in particular, but it happens in Division 1 also, but it happens a lot in Division 2 because of geography and availability. You never know weather constraints on these programs.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I learned this being Division 2. My boss, the head coach, is from Chicago, coached in Colorado, and a lot of these teams. Speaking of being from LA, We go to Mount Sac. Mount Sac is the end of the season. Mount Sac on our calendar is the last meet of our season because 2 weeks later we got conference. Well, for all these, so some of these Midwest teams and the Northern teams, it's the beginning of the outdoor season. So they come out here that week and they run at Long Beach, Cal State LA, Azusa, and Mount Sac. One, to get their NCAA counters in. That's how you get your qualify. That's how you get your sport certified and qualified so your kids can go to nationals, right? So if we're always just Xing out the bottom of the list in lieu of the descending order list, you're just rolling the dice on coaches and athletes, seasons and careers because you don't know what they faced. 2 years ago, we had 11 meets and 9 of them it rained. So what are you going to do about that? It snowed, and I've been recruiting Ohio for a few years now, and I happen to know they have the state meet in the snow. We don't have to worry about that in California. What do you mean it snowed at your state meet? It don't snow past, and they go, yes, it does. Right. So what we came up with was, and why regionals at the D1 level over the years has evolved into what it is because it is the fairest, my least favorite word, but it's appropriate. It is the fairest system to ensure we have the best of the best at nationals. Now, people love to go East region versus West region and look at the results. Results are circumstantial. You go to the East and you're running to Jacksonville and you got 85-degree weather with 85% humidity. I expect those races to be faster. Because if you're running at Sacramento, LA, wherever the East, Oregon, wherever the West regional is, you never know what the weather is. Right. So that's why. And people love to look at times. That's why I said this is about competing. And if you notice, every year, almost without fail, when you get to nationals and you start looking up at the finals, those kids from the so-called slower region seem to make these finals just fine. Because everybody's in the same place at the same time, doing what we all love to do, which is compete. This is track and field. We're out here to compete on the day. Who is the best on the day getting it done? Not who time trialed the best, who had the best weather and wind in a given situation. This is equality at its finest. Everybody's in the same place at the same time, running the same race on the same days. Which kind of leads me into I still hate 3 heat semifinals, but that's a whole nother conversation.
No, so talking about the weather and stuff like that, what would you say is your favorite state to go? And even though you're from Cali, your favorite state to recruit athletes? Like if you had only one state, where are you going?
Yeah, so the answer to that is Cali. But there's a caveat to that question. I am D2. There are budget limitations. We tend not to go out of state because out of state tuition matters. Our tuition is $6,500 in state. Tuition out of state is 30, something like that. It's very, very different. But I'll dive in. Let's have some fun with it. I would say Cali, depending on my events, but I would say Cali because generally out here in California, the system that our kids grow up in is exactly what I just talked about. We have one state meet. We don't have 6 state championships. So you're not going to be 1A, 2A, and people telling you, oh, you're in 2A, it's a lesser division. That means nothing to us. We have so many state title record holders from little bitty schools, and they're the only athlete at their school, but they're the best in the state, and they get to show it, and they have to race for it. I tell people all the time, you guys will love this. In all my travels and experiences, and I've been to Olympics and Worlds and West Asian Games and East Asian Championships and meets you never heard of. The single best meet that I enjoy for this sport is CIF finals. And everybody goes, what? I go, yes. I've been to Worlds, I've been to Olympics, and there's nothing like that. That's the best of the best. But you got to understand, as a track meet, this is a week-long track meet with 2 or 3 finals a day, and then you go home and you rinse and repeat. You do it the day after. As a single-day meet, You go out to CF finals, and it's 4 divisions with 4 finals with 4 different team titles going on.
What
And
section though?
along,
What section? What section? What section referring to? You gotta be. So what section
what's
are you
that?
talking about? What section?
No,
You said
CF
CIF.
finals, period. The meet,
Oh,
Oh,
the
to me.
meet
Oh.
itself. Like, because you got, Division 1, 2, 3, and 4. So on that day, you got team competitions, right? You have the
Mhm.
individual races, all 21 races. Then you have, oh, y'all don't have HEP. It's 19. Y'all don't have HEP and that. But you have these 19 individuals trying to win and score. You got the team competition along with trying to qualify for masters so
Mhm.
you can have the chance to qualify for state. So
Yeah.
the drama of the day is high, right? So
Mhm.
yes, this Division 1 final has Roderick Pleasant in it. You gonna tell me there's less competition? Number 1 guy in the country. What are we talking about right now? Division 4. Division
Mhm.
1 has all the big dogs. Oh, we waiting to see this. Who's gonna win? It's just a different drama of it all. But that's why I say Cali, because our kids grow up having to earn it.
Mhm.
So when they get to the next level, um, and you recruit them, they understand what it was to race for it. Now that's not, guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed. Good is good and maturity is maturity. But if you press me to want to recruit, and then I got choices. I just named off, I can go to CF finals and do all of my recruiting. And that's a month before state.
Mhm.
I go to state to watch. I go to state to see who's in Central and Northern California
Mhm.
that made it to state that I might not have seen being in the Southern section, right? And
Mhm.
then that leads to the other thing. It's Cali. You can be in the Southern section and fill up a whole team,
Mhm. And I
right?
gotta say, like, not growing up here, but like, moving here and coaching here, having kids go through the system, I have a great appreciation for the state meet. But also I appreciate in the sense that where I came to a realization at some point that, like, man, anybody who makes the final, because it's hard to get to state meet, especially in the southern section, it's the hardest in the country. But there are some other parts of the state where it's a little easier for those kids. But the
Sure.
state meet itself, like, if you anyone who's a finalist, and like, man, that kid, any of those kids who are finalists in any of the events, they can get a scholarship somewhere.
Yep.
If they made it that far, like, there's a school somewhere in the country that has a scholarship for them, and that's just like an amazing thing to, like, to see and to realize. And I don't know if all the kids have realized that, but if you're a state finalist, like, and not just the state, but I mean, like, the finals specifically, man, those kids, there's a scholarship for them somewhere in some program for
Oh,
sure.
it's funny you bring that up. Me just having finished recruiting, and I was going through my recruiting list, and I happened to, every once in a while, as we do, I got down a rabbit hole and started looking at performances on the year. I
Mhm.
was on either MileSplit or athletic.net, and I started scrolling down, and I was looking at, specifically, I was looking at young ladies I was recruiting in the 400.
Mhm.
And I know where some of them committed to and got a scholarship of some sort, and they're D1, and they're like number 44 in the state, not the
Mhm.
country,
Mhm.
in the state. So to your point, Will, yeah, and that's why uh this is a great story. Great story. And it helped me a lot once I became a college coach. When I was in school, I was on the team at UCLA, and we're UCLA, and at that time we are UCLA.
Mhm.
And then my uncle's my uncle. He got Steve and Danny and
Mhm.
Kev and Henry and Mike Marsh. I mean, where else would you want to be? And then there's all these kids winning state. And
Mhm.
we're sitting up there going, why are we not recruiting this kid? And, we're kids. So we're looking at my uncle and, why aren't you recruiting such and such? Why are you recruiting this person? And finally he said, listen, he said, everybody goes to state and everybody knows who's number 1 at state and who's the state champ. I said, the problem is that is just one person and everybody wants him. So he has choices.
Mhm.
He said, but no one pays attention to the 7 other lanes of the final, not to mention the semifinalists. And like you said, the other qualifiers.
Mhm.
He said, I just can recruit them and develop them, because the ones at the top, most of the time, not all the time, have had the best coaching, the best situation, the best training, or just flat out have grown up and matured before everybody else. But what about the kid that took seventh? They still ran fast. They still made the final. They still did state record hold. I mean, school record holder somewhere. And I went, wow. And to his credit, arguably the greatest sprinter in UCLA history is Otto Bolden. Nobody knew who Otto was. Otto ended up going to a JC, soccer player, transfers into UCLA, and he has to tell his story for years. He took fourth and sixth in the state final, right? And now he's NCAA champ. He's Trinidadian this. And there was just a bunch of kids that you can build your team on with that type of talent. And, you know, so that's the answer to your question, Anthony. That's why Cali matters the most, because of the depth and the system. You know, you
Yeah.
can find fast kids anywhere. I'll go
I
to
think-
Nevada and Arizona in a heartbeat and find you fast.
Yeah. And I think kids need to understand that too, is that it's not, yeah, of course, your end goal should always want to go to state, but it's the finals, it's the master meets, is when you are, the coach has already made up in the mind whether or not they're going to offer you. It's not when you get to, not when you get to state, unless you're a late bloomer or so, but it's during the finals and stuff like that. So it matters on not just what you do on the track, but what you're doing off the track,
Yeah.
well, is what the coaches are looking at and stuff like that. And it's not the end all be all just because you didn't make it to state.
I would like to throw this in while we're talking about recruiting. For everybody watching this podcast, parents, coaches, kids, hear me, please. This is not football. This is track and field. We don't function, nor intend, nor have the money to offer fools and field a whole team. Please understand that. It makes the conversation way easier. The best of the best, the cream of the crop, different conversation. However, still matters. We are known, and this is fading out fast with the new rule changes, but it still exists. There's participation sports and there's equivalency sports. Participation sports used to be football and basketball. You get recruited, you get signed, you're a full scholarship at the D1 level because they don't split scholarships. Olympic sports are equivalency sports, and we can split scholarships. Now, please do your research on that, because there have been rule changes, and that has changed some. But at D2, that has not changed. We split scholarships, and we must. Most D2 programs and lower level programs are not fully funded. And even if they are, it's still limited. So if you're going to a track team that has 40 men and 40 women, they don't have 40 scholarships per gender. A fully funded D2 is still operating at 12 and 18 until the rule changes, right? 12 for men, 18 for women. So if they have, let's use the women's side, if they have 40 women and 18 scholarships, you can imagine somebody on there is not getting a full. Now, the best of the best, yeah, maybe they are. Fools are out there, but you have to understand what you have to do to be a full ride athlete. And I think that's very important, and the point of education that helps a lot during the recruiting process. And I think it would save a lot of families time to go in that mentality, because they end up measuring my desire for their kid, or that kid, you thinking how bad I want you, based upon if I gave you a full. And that's far from the truth. You have to ask me what is, you can ask me what's a lot, and I'll give you some parameters about what's a lot, to make it make sense, so you understand when I do offer, where you stand with that. And in a lot of cases, it's circumstantial anyway, about what I have available, period. Like if you call me now in July, I got 10 cents for you, because money's spent. I want you bad, but I spent my money. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that in.
No, I'm glad you said that, because I think, and we all have heard stories and know parents who kind of, I don't know what, I think football kind of just got everybody's mind, and this NIL basically got everybody's mind of that. It's just, you're going to get hundreds of thousands of dollars, and
Man, yeah.
and it's only the cream of the crop. Those who are truly doing record numbers on the track that are getting that type of money. So don't go in there with the intent of thinking that because your kid was the best on their track team that the school is going to offer them all this money. It's just not available in the track and field space.
Very true. Very, very true. More than people ever want to realize. It's really hard. It's a hard conversation because the reality is kind of harsh. There's a few dynamics mixed in. Like a lot of state champs are not full rides because you're not going to score next year. We're hoping you're going to score in 3 years, right? The other thing is that I'll own it. There's a lying section of the coaching of the coaching. There's ways to dress things up. I can tell you your kids getting if they got full FAFSA and full Cal grant, right? And then I threw in the rest to cover the rest of housing. Oh, you're on a full, but you're not on a full athletic scholarship, right? And that's really important for everyone to be educated on. Know where your funding is coming from, because otherwise you'll get caught off guard. And I've seen that happen. I've seen people feel as though their money was played with because they didn't fully understand how that coach put together that amount of funding to make for sure you went to school for free. It was not a full athletic grant, aka a scholarship. The scholarship you got from said school was to cover the rest of your expenses along with whatever financial aid you are going to receive.
I think I know Will. One thing he did help me with when my daughter signed her first scholarship was, hey, read the fine print on what it says and what it's actually going to, because they just say full scholarship, but you don't know what it all the fine print. So he did point that out to me to kind of go through it and be like, okay, know what it says. So so you're not,
don't get excited and just type your name in and send. Be like, oh, you signed for $2,000. Like what?
Yes, it was interesting to me to see when Megan first got her actual whatever it's called. I forget what it's called, the contract. But all the line items, it was like, wow, it's a lot of line items, and some are checked and some aren't. But it's like, yeah, you got to look at all that stuff.
You touched on something, Coach. I don't want to skip past it. When you talked about recruiting, you said I get to recruit developmental athletes, right? So to me, what I take from that is, in the D2 divisions, I can develop you to get you fast. But then because everybody thinking about Power 4, Power 5, necessarily there, hey, I need you to score points. And if you can't score points, I don't need you. So on that side, we're not developing. I need you to come in and hit. So can you talk about that on track and field space of like, because everyone thinks that, hey, coaches are going to take their time. Can you talk about the difference and why you prefer developing the athletes rather than just, hey, I just want, a fast athlete, and talk about that?
Oh, definitely. So let's frame this right. I tease all my friends that coach D1 now. Man, listen. That is 1063, 98, 19, whatever. The numbers are bananas. And you got limited roster spots. And you got to go produce. And it used to be a thing where D2 is more old than new still. You generally recruit your freshmen to be your top dogs their junior year. It's the natural evolution of things. I tell people all the time, you come in, I'm going to call you freshman. You don't have a name. Why are you going to do that, coach? I said, because freshmen ask that question. Because you're going to do freshman things, and you're going to do sophomore things, and you're going to do junior things, et cetera, et cetera. And it takes people 3 years to adjust to life, 3 years to adjust to new training. right? And a new season and all of the above. It's much better now than it used to be with the different calendars for age group in high school and more post high school meets that are out there now. Even though I complain about them because we got New Balance, Nike, USATF, who is it? Under Armour and Adidas nationals now. um, everybody's a national champ, but at D2, I'll use hurdles because it's the cleanest and easiest example for this, and people listening won't get their feelings hurt. Men's hurdles. Men's hurdles, you are developmental. I saw the best video this weekend. Jacoby Tharp just ran 12:75, and he posted a picture, or somebody posted a picture of him at practice in high school when he was first learning how to hurdle, and that kid couldn't hurdle save his life. And here we are, right?
Mhm.
For men's hurdles, the hurdles in the 110s go up 3 inches, changes lives. And the long hurdles, especially on the West Coast, you go from 300 primarily to 400 hurdles, changes lives again. No matter how fast you ran in high school, there's a huge question mark in hurdle recruiting. Will it translate? So many hurdlers, great in high school, and everybody goes, "What happened to them?" The hurdles went up. It did. The hurdles went up, and it changes everything. I had a couple of hurdle recruits came across my inbox this year, and I looked at them. I was like, "Oh, nice!" And one is 5'8". I got to think about that.
Mhm.
Can you run 42s? And can you run 42s even faster than you ran 39s?
Mhm.
You got kids that go out. I have a kid, um, Ryan Fields. He went to Hamilton High School, city champ in the both hurdles. I was just talking to him the other day. Something I didn't know after having him for 5 years. Ryan had never broke 50 in the 400 in high school, but Ryan had ran 38.6, and Ryan had ran 14. I think he ran 14.6 in high school, right? Signed him. He's a city kid. He's a city kid because I'm a city kid, and I know city kids are succeeding with the least amount of tools at their disposal. And I got him and his sister, Ayana. Ryan and Ayana came to me and left here as arguably the two best track and field athletes we've ever had. Ayana came out of high school, had run under 57 seconds one time in her life. She left here and her PR is 53.8, split 52.8 for me one time. She ran three Wendy's 22.9s and left out of here with an indoor PR at 23.3, right? Came to me at 24.7, I think, out of high school.
Mm.
Ryan was 38.6 and 14.6, and he left here at 49.9 and 13.68, I think it was, with both school records, and ran 47.2 with no hurdles. So that's the benefit of being at a D2. I get to go to city, for example, I get to go to city champs and pick out kids and be like, come on, I got you, and give them a little bit of help with the finances of going to school. Whereas at D1, no matter how big my heart is, probably not even a walk on. I probably don't have the space or opportunity to even dive into that for those kids. And see, it's not a comment on whether or not I think they're good. It's about the opportunities. There are Division Ones right now that have consciously made the decision that it's not worth the time and effort to recruit high schoolers, right?
Yep.
And when you sit down and you think about it, nothing wrong with that. It makes perfect sense. If I gotta spend the money, right? And
Mhm.
I only have a finite amount of roster spots, I don't have the roster. I don't have the freedom anymore to go to the boss or be the boss and go, I'm just going to carry these 5 kids and see how they develop while I got my A kids rolling. You don't have that option anymore. So here we are at D2. I'm right here. I got that option. I gotta. I have. I have 35 kids, sprints and hurdles, men and women right now. I'll go into next year. I think I have 23 guys and 13 girls. Probably still looking for a couple more girls, and those are big numbers. Oh my
That's a
guys,
big group. Yeah.
yeah, big numbers, bigger than I even wanted. But it's just how it's played out, right? And some of it is a trickle down from uh, the rule changes. Now I got to do my job, and I'm excited about it because my guys' team I think is going to be tremendous. But that's kind of diving into the weeds of this thing that I think people really need to know about what's going on out here. I get calls from coaches and, feelings do get involved. People, you didn't even call my kid. I don't have space. It's not that I don't trust you.
So I don't know I know the rule changes like that affected the Power Four schools in Division One that opted in, but
Yes.
what are the rule changes that affected Division Two?
As of today, thankfully, none.
Okay.
We haven't changed yet, but it's coming. The 5 for 5, I am positive is coming.
Hmm.
Uh, but as far as the general rules, NCAA rules right now in terms of roster and uh, scholarship numbers for D2, nothing's changed right now. I don't suspect that scholarship numbers will change because most D2s, you could change the rules if you want to. They don't have the funding. Our conference is primarily CSUs.
Hmm.
Uh, that just changed. It used to be only CSUs, but that just changed recently as the ever evolving evolution of college sports goes. So we've added a few teams to our conference now, outside of the CSU system. But I'll stick to the using the CSU system. Y'all just saw uh, Governor Newsom sign the budget. The budget is what it is. And unless you're extremely lucky to have some successful alumni willing to back you, most D2s are just functioning on their state budgets because most of them are state schools.
Hmm.
If you're a private school, that's a whole different bag of tricks. I'm glad I don't have to deal with because I couldn't imagine trying to sell $80,000 tuition to anybody. That number alone, I do this for a living. I hear that number and just go, what? What? How much? Yeah, no. I'm lucky I'm a state school. Like I said, our tuition is 6,500 all in. Add in fees, we're 8,100. And you are a collegiate student. And if you want to join the track team, you're a collegiate student athlete for the cheap price of 8,100, as long as you can commute from home.
But like, so I've been around you like on the infield, watching you at track meets, kind of like evaluate talent, and even in the stands, like as recently as CIF finals a couple months ago. But like when you're evaluating these athletes and you look and say, like beyond their times and their marks, like what things stand out as far as like the adversity they're overcome, maybe their body language, potential upside, ability to do multiple events, for your
Mhm.
team. What are you looking for, or like what type of situation, or maybe even like situations with you briefly mentioned coaches reaching out to you saying, hey, you didn't look at my guy or my girl. Um, what type of situations have like really deterred you from recruiting that athlete or saying, hey, this is someone I want to coach?
Oh, good question. Start with the beginning premise, what I look for. One of the main things I I told you guys I really love track and field. So one of the main things I'm trying to get us back to, moms, dads, get your kids into sports.
Mhm.
I don't need an 8-year-old track focused only person because at the end of the day, what happens is athletes development depends a lot on athleticism. I
Mhm.
don't care what sport you choose. It even matters in track. Yes, we run straight and turn left. This is true. But when you have to lift and you have to coordinate yourself and learn new movements, your athleticism matters. And a lot of that is rooted in playtime, right? Go have fun. We had a saying at HSI, when this becomes a job, it's time to go get one. That's how I feel about track as a whole. I don't have a job. I love track. I love track. I'll coach for free, and you guys appreciate this. I do coach for free. um, I do this in my sleep. I do this because I love it. I'm at practice. My time at work is my enjoyment. It's my escape from everything else outside the track, and it's always there, you know. Um, so when I'm looking, part of it is, can I identify an athlete? Not always easy when you're at a track meet because they're running what they run, they do what they do. But I do watch how you walk. I do kind of watch your interactions with your friends. Are you the shy guy? Are you the nerd? Not always bad, but it's information. Are you the 4.0 and this is a science experiment for you? Because that's going to help me determine who you're going to be in and with you come to me and how we're going to interact and how this is going to flow. Right. What has turned me off? You really want me to fall into that trap? Wow. No. Yes. Oh, I got a great example. That's probably why you asked this question. I don't know. Were you around me for that? Anyway, there was an incident, and I will tell the story. I'll share no names because I'm not here to embarrass anybody. But this is a great example, a great cautionary tale. Uh, Athletes I was watching made a decision to prioritize their individual events over some team things, and you're out. We built a team, and once I saw that happen, people called me and told me what happened, and they knew. Nah, Anthony, they knew that this was not it, right? And this was really bad, by the way. This was a bad scenario, and I don't even know how or why these kids thought it was a good idea to do it. Um, but it's an extreme but great example of when we are recruiting and you're getting recruited to college. Ultimately, it's about how much can you score. People are like, I can win nationals. Okay, you got 10 points. I'm saying from a coaching standpoint, it's 10 points. So if you took, third in one event and fifth in another event, you scored me 10 points. That's what we look at. Because why? Because team titles matter. This is a team sport. Track and field, until you finish college, is a team sport made up of individuals. And I've had conversations, I've seen the arguments, a team sport, individual sport. It's both. It is both. When you have a group of high level individuals, I'm training, if all three of you guys are my athletes and y'all all run the same event, I'm training you all to win. It is your job on the day in the blocks with the same uniform on to go do your best and win a race. Simple as that. I look for levels of maturity. I know what I'm dealing with. I don't expect you to be a grown up. Sometimes being a grown up is bad because there is reverse maturity. Believe me, you've been so grown for so long. You get to college and turn it off and go have all the fun, right? This is like reverse maturity. You've been mature and taking care of business. Now you're out the house and you're free. Because maybe the situation was too strict or you just weren't doing enough and now you found fun in life and now you have too much fun in life. I hate to say this because, we are at a track meet, we are out in public, but language does matter. And for me, it matters because it's about awareness. If you're out on a warm-up field with your teammates, you're over in the tent. Oh, okay. Hey, I walked into your territory, right? Because ain't no telling what you can hear out of my mouth if you walk around my tent over in the warm-up area. But that's why it's separate. But if you walk up in the stands and you're sitting around grandma, grandpa,
Yeah.
aunties, uncles, college coaches, other coaches, live cameras, and you don't know, you don't have the wherewithal to at least monitor your language. I'm not saying you got to be in church and not, but we can't be just wilding out in the stands.
Mhm.
Yeah, it matters. We'll look at you like, oh, I'm a wonder. You get a chance to have a moment. We all did it. We're coaches. We
Yeah.
look around. Oops, my bad. Let me walk over here and have this conversation.
Right.
I can tell you this. We're gonna clip this because like this
Oh,
that
go
drives me crazy. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. I talk to kids about that all the time. Having some common sense. I tell them
Yeah,
when I was a kid, I was with my friends. I'd have some language, whatever. But whenever I was around adults or we were around adults, we'd have enough common sense to watch what we say and we'd be respectful around them, not just cussing like crazy around the adults. And it's really bad now.
it's terrible actually.
Mhm.
It's bad. I had to get on my team. We're at practice, and we're in a mixed environment. And I told one of my kids, I said, "Bro, you gotta fall in love with that word." He's like, "Oh, coach." I was like, "No." I said, "I'm pretty chill." I said, "But you do realize you said it 5 times in a row, literally 5 times in a row, and then you didn't say anything." And he was like, "What?" I was like, "And you didn't even notice." And his boys were around him and went like, "Yeah, I kind of, yeah." And I was like, "I can quote you if you want me to." Look, I didn't grow. I'm just telling you when it, to your point, common sense. Know your surroundings. It's simple stuff like music. I like music at practice. I do. We have a speaker. I like to play music every once in a while. Let the kids get on the aux or the Bluetooth as it is now, but the aux. And they struggle with the concept of radio edits.
Yes.
You can't play that out
Yes.
loud. If the AD walks out here and hears that, bro, we all in trouble. You like me? You like me have my job? Because you're trying to get me fired, right? We got recruits and the parents. What are you doing? Stop trying to blow the speaker out. We're not at the club. It's just background noise. Coach, turn that up. No, we're at practice. You got to hear me. The music is there, so we're not out here just listen to the birds whistle,
Right.
right? Uh, but yeah, that's kind of the stuff. I look for reactions. That's another thing. I do look for reactions. I have a magic question on my recruiting. Name a time of disappointment, how you dealt with it. I need to know who you are as a competitor.
Mhm.
I'm ultra competitive. That's not always a good thing. And I know people told you, oh, it's cool, you're just competitive. No, because this is track and hate to bust everybody's bubble. You are going to lose. It's track and field.
Yeah.
You find me an undefeated person in track and field, shake their hand, get their body oils. Hey man, rub on them because we all need some of that. The
Get
best
the
of the best
body
of the
oil.
best. Yeah, hey, something, right? Because the best of the best lose for
Yeah.
very various reasons. And that's why I tell my athletes this: worry about the how, not the what. What does that mean? The only control you have is your how. It's how you did it, how you ran your race, what was your technique, did you execute your race plan? Because all we're trying to do is to be the best we can be on the day at that moment. You have zero, and I need people to understand this. You have zero control over the what. What's the what? The clock.
Mhm.
You have zero control. You actually have very minimal control over the results. Why is that? Let's use Tyson Gay. It's my favorite example. Tyson Gay ran the race of his life and got the brakes beat off of him. Because why? Because another man ran the race of his life. As great as he ran the race of his life too. And he won. Did Tyson do something wrong? Oh, we could sit here all day and be track guys. He could have. Yeah, he didn't. He did not. He ran the American record on the day. He ran a PR on the day. And so did Usain. And Usain ran the world record. that's been untouchable. The closest man to Usain is wind dated. You understand this? That's all you can do. I tell my athletes all the time, if you gave me 100% of you on the day, I will be happy. Not the place, not the time, 100% effort, because that's all we are in control of on the day, because things happen, wind, weather, life, people. I've seen races. Quincy Watts ran a race and his shoe blew up at 300 meters. I can't remember who it was. I think it is Kim Batten. She's running the race and somebody threw a seat cushion that hit her in the face after hurdle 8. These are the things I tell people about. What are you supposed to do? Femke Bol just ran 155 in the second 800 of her life. Too bad she was in the race with Worrell, who ran 153. Femke Bol did nothing wrong. So that's my thing about this sport that we do. And that all factors into when I'm out evaluating and trying to surmise what is this child at age 17, 18, maybe 19, going to evolve into in the next 4 or 5 years? You know, can they transition? Are they going to handle weightlifting? Are they going to handle getting up at 6:30, 7:30 in the morning to lift? More importantly, what is their background in training? Because are they going to handle what I'm going to throw at them? Because I'm going to challenge you and I'm going to press you, and not in ways that people always think. I'm going to keep the pressure on in practice most times because physically I don't really care. The workout's the workout. But if we run the 400 to 400 hurdles, the high hurdles, and all of a sudden you're so emotional that you can't think, we got a problem, because it's the whole get down. You got to be able to think and function under duress. Hurdles coming at you and lactic is kicking your butt. Can you think your way through and execute? And I'll shut up there because.
Well, you actually, I was going to ask you a question, but you actually answered it for me. So I'm going to say, Anthony, can you go to like number 6 on our list?
Is when you talked about recruiting, can you talk about, because I mean, as parents listening, I don't think they understand how they can mess up a scholarship for an athlete or even a coach. So I really would want parents and coaches to understand, like, we get that this is your baby, we get that this is your athlete, but hey, let us do our job to get the athletes in.
No, I think, you know what, that's a great quote. Let us do our jobs. It's an emotional time, and that's understood. I'll use myself. I told you I got stories for myself. Did this for a while, and in 2022, I had my youngest, and he got recruited, and he got offered a scholarship, and it tripped me out. It was an easy recruitment. I knew the coach. I coached the coach. So I didn't have to go through the angst that some parents do, but it did shock me emotionally to actually go through the realization that my child was getting a scholarship to go to college. And it was emotional. And I was shocked at myself because I do this all the time. But being the parent to like watch a coach talk to your child, then watch a coach talk to you, and then having to sign the papers and read the papers and see that paper say what it says. Yeah, it was emotional. I say that to say this. Parents and coaches, whatever conversation, how do I want to approach this? It's a couple of ways to handle this. Go back to what you said, Anthony. Respect the job of the recruiting coach. I'm filling a roster. I'm trying to determine something you already know. Who is this kid? You're trying to sell me on who this kid is. Oh, this is a great point I can share. Parents and coaches, when you go on visits, you get to introduce the kid. You get to tell me about the kid. I need you to fall back. You can have your questions. You can add to stories that a kid is sharing. I don't need to talk to you. And it's very simple. It is because of this quote. I tell all parents, this is probably the last time I will talk to you. Why? Not out of disrespect, but I don't do parents and I don't have to do parents because the next 4 or 5 years of your child's life will be on their own. It's not high school. High school, that was your child, and you got to take care of them, and you got to be there for them, and they're in your house, and getting them up in the morning, and you're taking them to school or teaching them to drive, et cetera, et cetera. And college is almost the exact opposite. I'm not calling you when I have a problem with your child other than something lawful or dangerous. I'm not telling you. Moreover, I think some parents need to understand I might not be able to call you depending upon the choices your child made. There are actually rules against that. Why you didn't call me? I cannot. I have to get your child's permission to tell you certain things. That's by NCAA rule, right? And people don't know that because some coaches do interact with coaches and parents, right? But it's dangerous. I don't know if it's still around. I'm pretty sure it is, but it's called FERPA. And on the FERPA, it's everything from grades to medical to everything. And the kids have to sign off on who that information can be shared with. And they can say no to everything, which means I can't even tell your child's grades. They doing okay in school? They doing all right? Or you need to call your child. Um, However, my main point is let the child talk. They're young. It is hard to talk to adults, especially if you raise your child right. They're very respectful. They're in a room of adults. They're sitting in a room with me, the head coach, and their parent. And they're trying to figure out how to say what they want to say if they're willing to say it, right? And this is an evaluation for us. Can this kid talk? I've had a kid sit on the couch, and it was the single best interview I've ever been around in my life. He had great answers. He was comfortable. It wasn't contrived or preconceived. He just talked. And we've had the other, I call it the car sales approach. I can tell the parent told the child, just listen, don't say nothing, just listen to what they have to say. Don't do that because you're about to give me your child, and I coach how I parent. So I need to know your child. In this hour conversation, I got to get an idea of what this young person is. Because I don't want to sit here and be tricked. You dressed them nice and they came in and they said all the right things. I'm going, oh
Right.
my God, this is the one. And then they show up and all of a sudden that dress, those clothes are gone and they're a whole headache, right? Conversely, I don't want a kid that is, to put it in a direct way, browbeaten. So the parents are always talking, so the kid doesn't talk.
Mm.
Kid had a ton to say, right?
Yep.
But the kid said 5 words. I've had situations where the parent talks so much, so much. I literally just turn to the kid and be like, "Hey, Anthony, what you got to say?" And the parents are talking again. Not gonna be rude, right? But then I let the parents say what they had to say, and I have a way of being that guy. Like, yeah, I do. Your last 5 minutes soliloquy, I didn't even listen to, and I just return back to Anthony. Hey, what do you think? Right?
Yeah.
And try to find a way to get you to open up and talk and get an idea of your vibe, your get down, and who you are. Um, to coaches, you asked about parents and coaches. Coaches, don't sell me. It is not fair to the kid. It's not fair to you with future recruits. And it's not fair to me and my job. Don't tell me a kid is great when you know the kid is a headache. Don't try to sugarcoat it with, if they were just in the right situation. No, tell me the truth. You can tell me the truth without destroying your kid. They had a little bit of a problem. They need to grow up a little bit. Coach, I've had to XYZ with this kid before. Just tell me the truth. I don't want to sign a kid from you, and this kid's a whole problem. Their grades are manufactured. You knew they were a problem. And how did I find out? Because I end up being cool with the kid and I end up talking to him. And if not them, then their teammates. And then I end up finding out these truths. They've been arrested, they've been drunk, they've been this, they've been that. What? Who? What do you mean? Lonnie did what? Because last time I talked to Will, Lonnie just needed a different situation and he was going to be great.
Yeah,
No.
that's something we talked about too on our show too, as far as like with coaches, how we tell the kids that we can't lie on them and say they're great, this, that, and the other, because they're hurting all the other kids coming behind them. So
Yep.
if they're not right,
Because
we got
it ruins your relationship. You call me, I got another kid. No, you don't. No, you do not. Not for me.
Hey, I wanted to ask you real quick. So you touched on when your son was being recruited and how that felt as like a parent, and of course you're a coach as well, but your son, not only his recruiting process, but his transfer. So he was recruited, and if you can talk about his high school experience, but he was recruited to a mid major here in California, San Jose State, and then they coached him up and he got really well, did really well, and he later transferred to Arkansas. This one of the premier programs in track and field history here in the U.S.
Mhm.
Can you talk about his development from high school to college to where he is now?
For sure. I'll try to keep this clean version for all parties involved. So high school wise, so Jaden is young. His birthday is in December. And I started him in school early because back in the day when I was growing up, but it was a badge of honor, right? My birthday's in November. I graduated 17. That was a badge of honor. I graduated 17. What are you talking? In hindsight, I wish I would have put Jaden back in his normal grade. He should have graduated in 23, not 22. Won't get into those stories, but I do wish I would have put him in his regular grade just for growth and maturity reasons. He was never a bad kid, but just growth and maturity, right? The natural growth and maturity. I do wish that. But his it played to his favor that he was young. So Jaden he's a COVID kid. So he lost his sophomore year to COVID. In 2021, we had that hybrid season. Um, Ended up playing football and track in the spring. He literally left the football field on last game on Saturday and ran his first meet like the next Friday or something like that. That was fun, but but when you think back on it, go wow. But he ended up winning CIF, and a PR. I think it was 49 flat or something like that. I think he ran 48.9. Yeah, he ended up running 48.9 earlier in that season. So going into a senior season, it started off with a bang. It's funny, he and I were just talking about. He jumped into 200 and opened the year with 21.49. School record was 21.47, and it was a big deal at the time because it was early. He was number one in the state, and he chased that time for the rest of the year. Ran a 48.2, I think 48.2 in league to win it later that season, his senior year. He was having a really good year, ended up on both relays. Um, and along the way, the odd thing about his recruitment was no one recruited him. The only person that recruited him was actually Chucky at San Jose State. Chucky and Ernie brought him up on a visit. It was early too, and they brought him up, and it's cool. We made a little quick visit, and he got to see the school and got the experience. A couple other coaches called, but they never actively recruited him, which I found really odd. He was top 5 Division III. He was the best in Trinity League. He was consistently fast. Um, he ended up by the end of the year at CIF. I gotta get the order right. CIF finals. He qualified for Masters out of lane 8 and ran 48.2. and the 200 he PR'd and ran 21:18, and made it to Masters. And that was a crazy year where he ran D3, ran 21:18, and I was actually nervous he wasn't going to make it to Masters, which I just found. Well, after people looking up this year, going, of course not. It wasn't this year.
Right.
This was at the time when 21-1 was still fast. But he ended up making it. And then he went to Masters and ran 47.7 out of lane one, um, which was great because he got the standard. He finished fourth or fifth, hit the standard and was going to state. Then he was cooked by the 200, but still made to state in that too. And along the way, again, no one called him. Thankfully for Chucky, at Arcadia, actually, well, by state time, he had already committed. At Arcadia, I had started talking to him. This is where me being the coach and the parent helped in his recruitment. He had an offer in hand, and he sat on it. And I gave him grace because I really hate when kids just sit on offers. And I ended up having to talk to him. I said, "Bruh, listen, they haven't pulled it, but you're playing with fire. Programs run out of money. If other people start committing, money is finite. It's not just they didn't make you an offer and sit on the money. One,
Right.
I said, two, they might just get tired of waiting and say no. And then I told him, I said, you can sit and roll the dice. It's fair. You can sit and roll the dice and wait for a big offer from Big U, right? That you're waiting on. I said, however, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. You got a good offer from two good coaches, a good program who had already got commitments from really good athletes. And Chucky and Ernie that year were really recruiting well. And I was like, you're going to walk into a great situation. I said, you really are. He's trying to do something. He has a plan. He's doing this, they're doing that. And he told me a week before Arcadia, I think. We were just sitting in the car driving home. He's like, I know, Dad. He said, I'm going to commit. And I was like, oh, well, thanks for letting me know. And I said, you going to call? He said, nah, I'm going to do it at Arcadia because Chuck had said he was coming down. He had a plan. I love what they did, but Jaden's like, I'm going to tell him at Arcadia. So that was cool. And at Arcadia, it was hilarious. They went through their whole spiel, even though they were recruiting before. I stood there, only me and Jaden knew. So I stepped back, and his mom was there, and they're going to spiel, and they're explaining to her, though, because she didn't go on the visit. So they explained to her, and they're going through their speeches. And Jaden looked at me, and I looked at him, and I just smiled and laughed because he and I are waiting for everybody to take a breath. So he just telling me, made a decision. So that was a fun moment. But I still think back on it, and it's curious to me with all the people I knew, and people knew about Jaden, that they never called him. They never even tried. And he was 17 at 21-1 and 47.7. And so when he got to San Jose State, I told Jaden, a few other people I trust, not with any arrogance, just with we've been talking about recruiting and development. I was like, this is a kid that, was around 47.7, 21.8, and he's actually 17. He's going to turn 18 at college at the end of fall semester. I'm looking at this going, I know how I matured physically. I know his mom's, career arc. I told Chuck, I said, I'm fairly certain by the time he's a sophomore, he'll be your number one quarter miler. And that wasn't any disrespect to anyone because he had a hell of a signing class there, including the state champ and, kids that had beat him. But I was just like, they are older than him. And I just think as he grows and physically matures, he's going to be the one to have the highest upside. And sure enough, by his sophomore year, he's Mountain West champ in both relays and the 2 and the 4 and ran 45-40 and 2063. The whole transfer thing was actually not a design, not a plan. It was circumstantial that as a father, I won't get into. He was not actually supposed to transfer. As I tell Jaden ended up at Arkansas because God loves him. I'm telling y'all, and off air, I'll share with you, but God loves Jaden, and he ended up at Arkansas. And everybody saw last year he had overall it was a good year. Individually, it was an okay year, but I didn't expect a whole lot given new program, transitioning, truly being away from home the first time and being halfway across the country. Uh, this year he had to sit out because he got banged up and got injured. So he had to rest shirt. But yeah, that's the long and short of his journey.
Yeah. But so my question is, because you said one offer, and I'm just sitting here like, okay, you was actually coaching that year. Why not the scholarship offer to your own son?
Oh, I'm the fallback plan.
Oh, okay. I had
No, but
that.
you know what is a great, uh I never thought of it this way, but that is a great point to bring up. So Jaden always knew we were the fallback plan. Jaden was not going to get a full from us because we didn't have it to give. Coach knew from the 10th grade. Coach wanted Jaden from the 10th grade. So it was always there. But coach knew we didn't have a full to give, not even to my child. It was going to find a way to make it very, very affordable, right?
Yeah.
But didn't have it 47-7 and 21-1. But at the same time, I'm a realist. 47-7 and 21-1, he wasn't on my radar. He wasn't coming to me. That's just silly. There's no chance. But to your point, Anthony, in a less serious vein, yeah, I was always a fallback plan. If nothing else worked out, yeah, he'd have been a Pomona. he gets to run around the earth with a safety net. He got somewhere to go.
Who's a better athlete?
Huh?
You or him? Who's a better athlete?
Oh, him. I've got no bones about it. He's doing. I can humbly and honestly say I have lived vicariously through my youngest. All my dreams and things that I wanted to do and thought I'd be able to do at his age too. He's been blessed enough to get it done. I wasn't that talented, um, for whatever reasons, and he is. But yeah, he'll see this, he'll love it. But I can't knock. He's run 45 and 20 point. I can't. That was a hurdler.
So like we'd love to hear your perspective of like the direction of track and field, like where it's heading with social media, rankings, recruiting, NIL, everything changing around the sport. What excites you, but then also what concerns you about the future?
Oh, great. Wow. So I have to preface my answer like this. I am actually an optimist.
Mm.
So I'll have to, as I'm talking, I'll have to literally think about what concerns me. Because I am the coach that you come to me with a problem, I evaluate the problem, and I moved on to how we're going to solve it. Which is the nature of what we do, right? I'm also a hurdler, so that's always the job. Ooh, that hurdle sucked. It's done because I got to worry about the next one. What excites me? Trackflation excites me. Uh, my pride goes, oh my God, what? But as a fan of the sport, how can you not be amped about this stuff? I am power speed by nature. I'm sprints and hurdles by nature. The trash talking and the angst excites me. It's missing. It's missing. The healthy competitiveness. I don't need fighting and I'm not a fan of like in the NBA there was oh, I hate all these friendships. I don't mind friendships. I worked in a group with Otto, Maurice, and JD that were bitter rivals, but they were training partners. They hung out together. We were a family. Um, but I'm here for it. We talk trash at practice all day long. By the way, heads up, some of the harshest trash talkers in the world have been women. But you know,
Yeah.
so I get excited about the violence of the sport, as I put it.
Mhm.
The beauty of track is that it is the epitome of the thing that sells the most, sex and violence. It really is. You got the most fit, beautiful athletes in the world out there in their underwear, more or less, doing human things at the extreme highest level. It's what we do. It's the job. You're trying to do it the best you can do it at your level 1000, right? And the dial goes to 10. But that's what we ask of ourselves. Um, I enjoy the human experience. I'm not bothered by post race exuberance.
Mhm.
People are like, oh, why did they do that? You go out there and run and put your life on the line, not life as in death, but your being, your person. I want to win. And you go out there and you go out there to win. And there's an emotional response to that that's visceral.
Mhm.
You know, some of it is thought about, but a lot of it is just the adrenaline and the rawness of it. And 5 minutes later, it's gone. 5 minutes later, what we eating? Chick-fil-A, right? um, the social media aspect, I think, is a godsend for track as it tries to find its foothold commercially.
Mhm.
Um, See, I told you I was gonna think while I was talking. What concerns me about track is what concerns me about society as a whole is that the full openness of it all is not always healthy.
Hmm.
The negativity and pessimism and egotistic elements of the sport where everybody thinks they're right, no matter how wrong they can be,
Mhm.
no matter how ill-informed they can be. Well, now we got social media platforms that allows you to take your ounce of knowledge and craft a whole reality.
Mm.
They think this, they think that. They look what they were doing. Wait, what? You have no idea. None. You don't know those people. You don't talk to those people. You wasn't at practice. You have no idea what they were going through to get to that point, right? Um, However, energy's energy, right? And we
Mhm.
got to learn how to use it. And that's why I think social media for track is evolving into a good thing. You guys have your podcast. I remember when track and field podcast started, and I always thought, oh, great, we get to tell our stories. You get to find the behind the scenes things. Like I said, you have no idea what was happening in that call room, what those stories were, unless you
Mhm.
were in the circles and then you get to hear them. Some of
Mhm.
that is silly because you got people out here telling stories from a perspective that they think they know, right? Because they had a piece of the story. So they
Mhm.
filled in the rest, not realizing that was never true. It was a
Mhm.
great story, heard them, but that was actually never the actual truth of what was going on. Um, but I think all that is good to be out there. You get to see, for example, Tara Woodhall Davis, man, go. Let that child go. I think all of us have known her since she was a kid in high school, running around with a gore. That's her
Yeah.
personality, you
Mhm.
know, and I love to see it. She gets it. She's out there on the long jump runway doing her thing. And if you're ever in the stadium with her, that is her. She's out there to draw attention, put on a show, entertain the crowd, and be the star that she is. She's not out there to go perform, jump, measure, clap, and go do through the tunnel, never to be seen again unless you family and friends.
Right.
And that part of track and field needs to be brought back at a bigger stage. You know, the HSI element of what it was at the time, flying the flag around to link it to a current thing. No, to fly the flag around and lead the other story out. To fly the flag around to make noise and interact with the crowd and get everybody amped and hyped and to give raw, unfiltered interviews. These things are needed. I love the trackside interviews. I like the evolution of having T and Dawn right there at the finish line to
Mhm.
talk to the audience in the stadium. In some respects, with Lewis out there talking to everybody at home, right? Because there's a part of our sport you do need heavy breathing. I don't know what to say moments. There's always the polished, oh, da 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 da. That is great too. But people at home love rawness. Track as a whole appeals to the fans because it is naked and raw.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's a start line and a finish line. And the thing that brought me to that element was, like we talked, I can sit here and talk about the nuances of individual experiences. However, it's the grandma example. We all had it. Baby, what you do today? Oh, grandma had to track me. Did you guys beat him? And when we was 12, we all got mad. Grandma's not like that. This is not football, man. I want my race, right? Every track athlete has a story. Did y'all win them the first time somebody used it wrong? Did y'all win them? Did I win? Right? But I was thinking about this 2 years ago, a few years ago. The simplicity of that is all that matters to the people on the other end of that TV screen when they're watching races.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't care, nor care to know that Rye Benjamin being in lane 9 in this 400 mattered. They saw 9 people on the track and the gun went off and it was light pole to light pole. And the little dude in lane 5 won, and the big dude out in lane 9 took second, and lane 9 ran. Wow, okay. He almost won. That's the extent of their experience. And it's all they care about. And we as a sport sometimes need to remember that. There was a race. It was 4 light poles. It ain't no difference. You got your shoes on, you got your shoes off. How far are we running? We run into the red car. We run into the light pole. You can't beat me, bro. Stop. I'm not racing you. You're not even worth my time, right? Let's run around the block. It's all the same.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I think, well, I love about the sport. And I think that's the thing that social media is helping expose to the world, along with broadcasts like this, me talking about this existential things to people talking about the clinical things of the sport, the nuance of the sport that you get into, and the training aspects of it, and the athletes going through what they're going through. I was just talking about this the other day too, watching pre. One of the greatest evolutions of this sport, and which is near and dear to my heart, is keep showing the mothers with their kids. And it's to kill an actual myth that I know to be true because I lived through some of it. There are people running around and women get pregnant and they're like, oh, their career is over. Why? Their year is over. If that woman decides to come back and train, I promise you she's going to be fine. But we need to see that to normalize it because it needs to be normal because it's just a woman that had a baby. She didn't turn into an alien. She's just a human being that, oh no, she had a baby. Great. And then she took her time off and she recuperated and her body came back. And thank you, Allison. She still has a check and she gets to go see who she is as a human being. Right. And let's normalize fathers out here that are out here trying to make a living at doing this thing or just show the kid that anything's possible, whatever the story is behind the scenes. I guess that's kind of a broad answer to your question.
Yeah,
So I got one for you. We'll probably wrap it with this one. But what's something happened in track and field, recruiting and athlete development that more people need to have an honest conversation about?
Wow. With recruiting or just in track and field?
Recruiting, athlete development, like whatever you want to touch on.
I guess I'll touch on something earlier that I think is really important. Talking about recruiting in track and field. Your child may grow up and go on to be great, but they are not right now. Your child, let's use the 100 because it's an easy number for everybody to latch on to. Your child ran, let's make it fast. 10-10. Number one in the nation, state champ. Next year, your child probably doesn't make it to NCs and nothing's wrong. They'll go out and they'll run 10:09, 10:08. Hell, it might run 10 flat somewhere along the season. And they won't win conference and they won't make it out of regionals and they won't make it to NCAA finals. And nothing's wrong. That's the reality of the situation. Give your child and yourself time to grow and develop. Um, your girl goes out and she's dominating and she's running 52.5, 53 flat, 52 flat. And she's going to get to college and you think she could go to Big U. Cool. She's going to get signed by Arkansas, right? And she's going to be fifth on the team. Fifth on the team. And it's going to be a minute. And they're going to have to develop. And I think that has to be honestly talked about because emotionally, freshman year, part of the huge challenge of freshman year experience is the emotional reality of where you fit in, right? Big fish, small pond. Big fish, big pond. Now you're in the ocean and you're going to walk onto campus and you're going to go to practice and you're going to get crushed by 2, 3 people. You don't know their name. You don't know where they're from because they're not your friends that were on the circuit with you and on the recruiting circuit with you. They're actually in their third year in the program. They were fifth at state and they've been lifting and just developing and growing and they're good. That's why they got recruited. That's why they're on the roster and they're older than you and they have developed and they've been where you are now currently and have lived through it. They know what it is to have to wake themselves up in the morning. No mom, no dad. It's your alarm clock that you got to get up. They know what it is to have to take yourself to class, to study, and manage your own time without the adults telling you to manage your time, without the adults managing your day. It's time to do homework. Nobody telling you that. We'll tell you, you got to go to study hall. What you do in study hall is still your choice, right? Um, and it's just the life experiences that go unseen and unsaid. Your kids are going to go through exactly what you went through at that age. It's time for you to remember it. Don't just say it as a cliche. We all made bad decisions at that age. Yes. And you have to remember it, not just say it. I get to live it every year because, like I tell everybody, it's just rinse and repeat. I got a new class for freshmen coming in next year, and I had a huge class of freshmen this year. And it'll rinse and repeat, and I get to watch the kids grow up. But I think in terms of just track, I just think it's the reality of where someone slots in walking in the door. You're not the top. You left high school on top of the mountain, on tip top of the mountain. You probably didn't lose in high school, depending on how good you were. And you're gonna step on a college campus and get beat up. Just get beat up. I think the other myth that needs to be killed, and I thought it was dead. I can't believe it's creeped its way back. You won't feel good. Stop trying to. With the new training dynamic out there, that's a real big headache right now. We get kids that come to college and they've never ever hurt because when it hurt, it stopped. When it hurt, you recovered, right? When it hurt, you got a day off. I'm kind of old school. To run track, you got to run around the track. You're going to be sore. You're not going to feel good the day of the final of conference or nationals. So stop expecting to. You're not going to feel your best when you PR. So please be aware of that mentally. So stop worrying about how you actually feel and worry about what you can do and what you need to do to execute. Yeah. See, well, you can, Brad. Want me to keep going?
I just, I, like, lastly, I wanted to just say, being a product of Narbonne High School and being at LA City Section School, and you briefly touched on how you recruited a couple of athletes from the city section. A section in California, for those of you that don't know, is not full of resources, and there's a lot of talent there still. However, it's not like how it used to be. But I like how you mentioned that you as a coach are still and has been still been able to be successful reaching back and getting athletes in the LA City section. And like how you mentioned before, like when you were at UCLA, like you're able to get that seventh place athlete and not always the top tier athletes. I think that's very commendable with the type of coaching philosophy that you have and the success you've had over the years to be able to not always get the top athletes in the state or in the country or whatever. But I think that that's coaching. That's um, being an artistry coach that you mentioned earlier, like being able to tap into who those athletes are, getting to know your athletes, and then also knowing who you're recruiting, because that recruiting eye that you have is particular to the culture that you want to have on a day-to-day basis when
Yes.
you're listening to that music at school, at practice, and things like that. So I just wanted to give you your flowers in regards to knowing your audience, just like how you want the athletes to know your audience and know who you're able to go um, reach out and pull in to adapt to what you want them to do going forward.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it a lot. I think I mentioned earlier I coach out a parent, and coming up the way I did, what I was able to recognize early on through circumstance and just trying to find my style
Hmm.
is that it has to be personal for me.
Yeah.
Um, it's a feeling, and I need to be able to relate to my athlete. Um, and you can that's kind of why I call it the artistry of it all, because there's no perfect way to do that. I do have my way, right, uh, of functioning now. I'm older now though, but I've always had, at least for me, from my perspective, my greatest success has been when I am personally attached to this journey. And I've been blessed enough to be in this long enough to be at the point to where it's actually making for sure that I am being a good steward and a good captain of everybody that's on my journey, right? And as the coach, as a father, as the leader, that's what it is now. I looked up a few years ago and realized this is years back, made me laugh. I don't know if you guys had this adventure yet. The first time I was at UCLA, and it was the first time somebody called me coach, and it wasn't a title, or it was a title. I don't know how you want to phrase that, but I was that age of no, they weren't going Coach Smith. They meant coach. Like that was the like the coach and the sir, right? Was out of the respect. And it tripped me out for a minute. And I was like, wait, I'm that old now? And I was like, yeah, I guess I am. And that kind of changed how I moved, right? Um, and how I saw myself, and I was like, oh, okay. And then it enabled me to sit up and stand up in front of my team, my group, my athletes, put a little bit more authority, uh, to ask my questions and answer them. As much as I am always curious about how you feel and what you think, I can now respond to that with a with more authority behind it and experience behind it. So I appreciate that, and it has helped tremendously uh, in my coaching and my patience and how I relate along their journeys and understanding. Uh, One of the things I learned being a college coach I really don't believe in the phrase they should know better because they're learning it.
Mhm.
So I can't really say to you, you should know better when I had to look at, like I said, I have to remember the decisions I was making when I was 20, 21, right? I can't say you should know better. Should you have done better? Yeah. But should you know better? No, most of us learned those lessons along the way. And this
Mhm.
was their moment to learn it. Now, next time, it's a different conversation. But no, I appreciate that, Lonnie. I go out and um, I have to at times now, and this is only the last 2 years, take into account what you said because I take it for granted and not in a bad way.
Hmm.
I just don't. I look at other coaches and go, man, he was coaching his ass off, right? And I never look at me that way. I never look at the development arc of my athletes. I see
Yeah.
them every day. I know
Right.
what my expectation of them is. So it becomes matter of fact when it happens. And I honestly learned the last few years I was making a mistake in that. I
Mm.
was making a personal mistake in that because I was never thinking of myself as I think of other coaches,
Oh, okay.
right? Like, oh, Lonnie did that, boy. Oof. Somebody say it to me and I'll shake it off. Like what you just said, right? You did
Right.
this. I'll be like, ah, man, I was just doing the job.
Mm.
That's what I would think. And I got to a point to where I was like, a friend of mine, a fellow friend of mine pointed out one of the athletes and their development and to hear it from someone else by the numbers, my head was like, nah, that's not my head literally said, that's not no, that's not it. And I had to go look it up. Now I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh, well, hey, don't get the big head, but yeah. But that's part of why being a D2 coach is fun too. It is. It really is. I had a this year, and then I know we're trying to close this out. But even this year, my team, my girls team, I had a young lady run 53.9 or 8 or whatever she ran. She came to me at 58.2, right? Um, my 4x4 was made up of a young lady I took from 58 to 53, who became my anchor and my number one girl. She only been here 2 years. She was a transfer. One young lady who, out of the blocks when she came 2 years ago, had never broken 60, but that never broken 60 out of the block. She ran 55.7. Another young lady who, when she got to college, they moved her up to the 8, and we were actually training her for the 8. She scored a conference for the 8, but ended up, excuse me, being the lead off of my 4x4, which was never out of the question, but she ended up being the lead off of the 4x4 and ran 56 flat, 55.8, right? And then the fourth young lady that made up this national qualifying All American 4x4 had a baby last year, freshman year,
Mm.
and then come back to the team to January. So, in the grand plan of things, when we started the season, she wasn't even one of the four. Matter of fact, when she came back in January, our plan was very simple and plain. I told her, we're going to come back, get you back in the flow of things. You are 5 months removed, so we're good, but we're going to take it slow. If we get 2, 3 races out of this season, great. And she ended up going to nationals,
Hmm.
right? So I thank you. It fits my personal story right now and what's the word I'm looking for? Self realization, actualization of who I am. Um, and that's why I say I don't say it with any arrogance. I'm not sitting around going, I'm this. I don't. I'll never be that. I'm not wired that way. But at the same time, I can now, without shying away from it, say thank you and I appreciate it and still want to do more because I need to win nationals, right?
There you go. There you go. Well, Coach Smith, we definitely appreciate you taking the time to join us on Beyond the Blocks, sharing your journey, the knowledge, the perspective with us. I think this conversation is something that a lot of athletes, parents, and coaches need to hear, because sometimes we all just focus on, the times, the rankings, the name on the uniform, the division, that we forget about the development, the relationships. And we talked a lot about relationships and just finding that right situation. And, to everyone watching, make sure you follow Coach Smith and Cal Poly Pomona track and field, and continue supporting the coaches who are helping move this sport forward. Coach, where can people find you on your socials?
Man, that's a fantastic question. I don't know.
Ah,
Anybody can help me out? That's so terrible.
hey,
Actually, I got it.
we'll let everybody know. We'll let
Please
everybody.
tag me. I
Yeah,
apologize.
it's Coach Darrell Smith all together.
Darrell.
Coach Darrell Smith all together on Instagram.
There you go. Yeah, I created that so long ago that I couldn't begin to tell you what it is.
Hey, he's a great find too, you guys. He loves music, that 80s, 90s music right there, that R&B, you know what I'm saying? We got to get
Take
some
me
karaoke.
back, boy.
Coach, when I come back to Cali, we need to go do some karaoke, because I like your playlist, man.
Hey, just bring the playlist, because I'm the guy that I got great plans when I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
We can go here, we can go there. When you go, you hungry? What you want to eat? I don't know.
But those of you,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, just bring the playlist. It'd be great.
Oh, for sure. But those of you out there, just make sure you go ahead and like, subscribe, follow Beyond the Blocks. We appreciate everyone who continues to support what we're doing. With that being said, for Coach Will Humphries, Coach Anthony Lewis, I'm Coach Lonnie D, and we'll see you on the next episode of Beyond the Blocks.
Appreciate y'all.